When you first look into green screens, you probably know the basics that using software you make the green invisible. But outside of that, I think it's pretty normal for it to feel a bit like a mystery and to have a lot of questions about how it works and how you can make it work. That became evident after my first couple green screen videos where I just got a ton of questions. So for this video, I wanted to focus on the 3 most common green screen questions I get when people first start using a green screen. And the first one is, why is a green screen green? Now I could give you the real short answer, but I think the history of green screens is actually pretty interesting, so I'm gonna bring it back for you. Now let's bring it back to a guy named George Méliès, who you might actually recognize from the movie Hugo, who was played by Ben Kingsley. But for the purposes of this explanation, let's just think of George as the OG Zach King. So much so that back in 1898, he made this video called The 4 Troublesome Heads. Now what's so significant about this video is it's the first time that we know of that the matte technique was used. Now what George was able to figure out was that if he took a pane of glass and painted it black, he could actually block out the light from exposing onto the film in those spots. Now, if he was able to rewind the film and created the exact opposite of the black on the pane of glass, he was able to expose onto those spots that weren't exposed before, creating the very first film composites. And the result? Well, I think it speaks for itself. It's pretty cool. Now this does have significance, so let's fast forward to the era of the blue screen. And I said yes, blue screen, because green screens used to be blue screens, and there's a reason why. Now this is a little simplified, but blue at a certain spectrum, when you added different light filters and color separations, you could actually create these mattes. In a way, kind of similar to the ones George made. Now take your background image, and using these mattes, you could expose onto the film the elements you would need to create your finished composite. So now you're taking George Méliès' concepts and you're really bringing them to an advanced level, and this is where film lived for a long time until we went digital. So when did blue screens become green screens, and does it actually need to be green for it to be keyed out? Well, the answer is no, because you can key out any color using digital software. The question really is, why is it green? To make a point of this, I'll key out any of the background colors that I have right here. So if we were to take the red of the bricks, you're going to see that it affects the tones of my face. If we use the mortar, you're going to see that it affects the tones of my face. If we use the tan, well, same thing. So let's take a look at the opposite colors of my skin tone by inverting this image. Well, it's a lot of green and blue. But Skylar, my skin tone isn't the same as yours, so what would the opposite of my skin tone be? Okay, point taken. Let's take this diverse stock photo and see what happens when we invert that. Well, it doesn't matter because everyone's skin tones are going to be those blues and greens when you invert them. Which is why today, green screens and blue screens are somewhat interchangeable. You even get a pop-up green screen that has a blue side to it. Now the main reason that green has become more popular than blue for keying is because digital camera sensors pick up more green color information than blue. This results in a cleaner key. Now there are some other benefits to both colors. For instance, green screens tend to be better for day scenes, blue screens can be better for night scenes. Green screens are a less common color in clothing, but blue screens tend to have better edge detail with blonde hair. Green screens do get a cleaner key, but blue screens do have less spill because it's a less reflective color, so if you're having a problem with that, you might want to try a blue screen. At the end of the day, it shouldn't matter that much whether you have a green screen or a blue screen. You should be able to make either work for you. That was a lot of information, so while we're soaking that in, let's move on to something a little bit more fun, and that is actually using the green screen. Now, how many of you, when you first used your green screen, keyed yourself out, maybe made yourself look like a weather person, went to the beach, and then kind of just stood there wondering what else you could actually do with it? So the next question I'm going to answer is, in what different ways can a green screen be used? And these are just going to be some fun things you can do to spark your creativity. First, put yourself in your favorite movie.
I get older, they stay the same age.
Yes, they do.
You're disgusting. Or maybe you really have a stylized look in mind like in Sin City.
Hello there, friend. Welcome.
Maybe you want to be in an anime. You can create a disintegrate effect like I did on one of my earlier videos by using a Red Giant plugin called Particular on your cutout footage. Maybe you want to float like Kevin Perry just came out with in one of his videos, so I used his technique and it was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. Thanks, Kevin Perry. Maybe you've got a clone video, but you actually want the clones to be able to walk by each other and interact, and using a green screen is going to be the easiest way to do that. You can reenact the old cartoons where when you had a tough decision to make, you'd have your good side and bad side whispering in your ear. Eating that brownie is the path to the dark side. Come on, we both know that brownie's gonna be delicious. Been training your whole life and you can't even have a brownie? Why does the dark side always win? And maybe you just want to use partial background replacement just so you can add in a 3D object or text into the background. Same concept I did for the tutorial on being the screen thief. And because green is a color you can isolate, you can pretty easily do color change effects. And finally, do you have some old drone footage that you want to try to reuse with maybe some sort of Superman effect? Well, throw your hands up into a green screen and there you go, now you're flying. And this really is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to green screens. So the final question that I get, and it is definitely the most common question that I get, is what software do I need to be able to do this? And there's no right or wrong answer for that, but I'll talk about what I think are the best options out there right now. So what I use is Adobe After Effects and Adobe Premiere. And Adobe After Effects is good for, well, effects and for motion graphics. Whereas Adobe Premiere Pro is more of a video editing software. So if you only want to do video editing, I would recommend Premiere. But if you want to get into more effects and motion graphics, you're going to want to also complement it with Adobe After Effects. So using Premiere, you're going to use Ultra Key as your keying tool, where you just eyedrop the actual color. And with After Effects, you're going to be using Keylight 1.2, and it's going to have a lot more functionality and power to it. And it also has awesome tools like Key Cleaner to help with flickering hair, as well as a great spill suppressor. And if you're looking to take your green screen keying to the next level, there are also added plugins that you can buy, like Primat Keyer from Maxon Red Giant, something to look into if you're going to start really taking this seriously. Now, Nuke is a software that is considered the Hollywood standard right now in compositing, but it is on the pricey side, and I've heard it's pretty hard to learn. But if you want to jump right into the pro stuff, that's an option. Now, DaVinci Resolve and Fusion are becoming a very popular option right now for video editing. They're affordable while still being very powerful. And DaVinci Resolve actually has a free version out there for all you video editors that want a strong option and don't have the money for it right now. I personally don't know a lot about the green screen workflows, but I do know that you can key out green screens with either of these softwares. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Blender, which is a free open source software that does so many different things, including keying out green screens. You can edit video with it, and it's a 3D software, so if you're really interested in VFX and the 3D side of things, it's a great free software to download and start playing with. And if you're just editing with your phone, you can look into apps like KineMaster for green screen editing. You won't be able to do as much as with a computer, but if it's your only option, it is out there for you. So those are the 3 most common green screen questions that I get. Thanks for watching the video, everyone. I hope you all learned something. I had a lot of fun making it. And I hope I inspired you to maybe get that green screen out of the closet, or to buy that first green screen and to start having some fun.